Welcome back to Sunday. What's Saturday? Saturday with Bitcoin Live, and the bigger picture with me is Syd, my co-pilot. Welcome, Syd.
Hey man, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little bit late. Sorry for that, people. But we got a lot of stuff, and I had to run around a lot and get it all set up on time. So
No worries. It's always happened.
here
It's
we
fine.
are.
Yeah.
Here we are. Everything good on your end?
Everything is good. So excited to talk about UFOs again.
Yeah,
And all other conspiracy stuff.
Yeah, like we said before going live, there's so much stuff coming out. It's impossible to keep up. We cramp as much as we can in one episode, but yeah, it's just a fraction of what's going on out there.
Yeah. Let's
I got
start.
a really nice opening for today. You probably saw it too. That's this one.
Yeah. Let's start with that.
Yeah. So this is the Pope's robe, and as you can see on the Pope's robe, there's this little figure here. And that is actually the Atacama giant, and which you can see over here,
Yeah.
which is in Chile.
Yeah, exactly. So
And yeah, so let's start with you. What's your take on this?
so first of all, it's a Abrahamic religion. They are very against paganism, right? So they prefer not to have any idols except Jesus. Like Christianity have Jesus, but all other idols are extremely prohibited in that religion. So have that symbol on your robe is insane. But it's not just that. This is a part of a big thing where they released a guideline for the paranormal activity and aberrations. So if you
Yeah,
see any aberrations, how to deal with that. So this is the whole part of that. And during that thing, he is wearing this thing. So yeah, I am still trying to wrap my head around it, like why they are doing that. But let's go with the guidelines.
yeah. So well, it's kind of interesting because I was looking at it, and when you sort of look at the tweet, also there's sort of this section down below where people sort of can sort of give comments to it in order to place it in the proper context. And a lot of people, or sort of the comment down below the picture or below the tweet post, is that the Pope was basically honoring Chile and put one of its national symbols on his robe. That's sort of the story.
Yeah.
But then I was sort of because that's and you can explain everything away if you want. So I was kind of curious. So I googled national symbols of Chile, and the Atacama giant is nowhere in sight. Right? They got llamas, they got wine, dancing
Exactly.
people, volcanoes, whatever. But the Atacama giant is not a standard Chile symbol.
And it goes against the religion anyway. So also, like, if you want to honor something, the best way to do it, like, have their flag on your
Yeah,
thing. That's a real representation of any country or any culture. Second thing will be their national animal,
yeah.
which or anything like that. But like having a pagan symbol, and I'm not against paganism. I'm just saying if you have this guideline of your religion, why you are breaking it? Follow the religion.
Yeah, and then again, right? I didn't know, but even Easter Island is sort of part of Chile,
Is it?
and
Yeah, I didn't know that.
yeah, I didn't know that either. But then put Easter Island on your robe, right? I mean, that would be then more a strong symbol than the Atacama giant.
Exactly. Easter Island is like it's a good symbol.
Yeah, so it's really curious, and then
Or put a telescope because they have like the largest telescope in there. That makes sense. But
that's
like
true.
having this giant on your rope doesn't make sense, especially when you're talking about apparitions.
Yeah, so that's really curious. So that explanation didn't really fly for me. And then of course the Atacama giant, even though it's sort of related to the seasons, seasonality, and astrology, sort of the knowing when to plant seeds and that sort of things. It's also sort of only seeable from high altitudes, right?
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
the Nazca lines, and
Mhm.
it's actually, I think I looked it up. What is it? 119 meters long, or 390 feet. So basically, to appreciate the Atacama giant, you have to fly up high in the sky.
Yeah.
And
And the story goes like they were created for the aliens to guide, like for aliens to see from the above so they can land over there. That was the symbol. And this, again, this guidelines include aliens as well. So apparitions and other paranormal activities also includes aliens. So yeah, that just crazy. Maybe it's just a foolish coincidence, but I don't think so.
No. I don't think this is a coincidence. Like you said, he put it on during the speech, which is, and like you said, the Atacama giant is also connected to aliens. I mean, it's a spurious connection, as some would say,
Mhm.
critics and skeptics. But there is a strong connection. And the Atacama, the what is it? The desert, is it? I think a desert, is it,
Yeah.
in Chile? It's one of the driest deserts on Earth,
Yeah.
and apparently objects can be found in that desert of hundreds, if not thousands, of years old in
Yeah.
pristine condition. And they did dig up quite a few interesting things in that particular desert,
Yeah.
right?
Also, what's so special about Chile that you have to honor it in this presentation? Like, why Chile? Like, I understand if
Yeah.
they had like a symbol of Vatican, everything start from Vatican. Why Chile? It's out of nowhere. Nobody even knows what's happening in Chile. Like, why you decided to honor Chile at this time? I don't think that's like a good explanation.
That's also very weird, because I think Pope Francis is from he's not from Chile, right? I
No,
think I think he's from, what is it? Argentine?
I think so. Yeah.
Mm,
Uh, Argentine. Yeah,
yeah,
Argentina.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
he
So that,
have the nationality of Argentina. So
yeah, so that's kind of curious. Also, like you say, why pick Chile to highlight?
yeah.
So I was sort of digging around a little bit, and also through our previous episodes, and of course we also talked about it a little bit. But you got one of those famous spats in UFO history between Stephen Greer and Christopher
Mhm.
Nolan. Uh, yeah, Christopher Nolan. Yeah, not the director, but the
Yeah.
scientist. But because Stephen Greer got his hands via his channels on a figure or a creature or an entity or whatever that was dug up in the Atacama desert, and it has become known as the Atacama alien. I
Yeah.
think,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. And then there was this spat between Christopher Nolan and him, because Christopher Nolan was the one who said, send it over and I'll test it and see if it's real or not.
Oh, you're talking about Atacama skeleton.
Yeah. Wait, I'll put
Yeah.
it up. I think I
No,
got,
no, it's a skeleton.
yeah, or the humanoid. Wait, I got it here.
Yeah, but that's like a most alien-looking skeleton out there.
Yeah, so we're talking about this one.
Yeah.
So this was found in the desert, and then Christopher Nolan, did his thing with his team.
Mhm.
And at first he thought, yeah, it is alien of origin. It's very small, also. It's very tiny. But then later on, when he sort of ran all his tests, and I think it was his students who did it. It's usually the students, and he has sort of oversight over the study.
Mhm.
And then eventually the conclusion was, no, it's not an alien. It's just a poor baby who managed to get all the diseases on planet Earth
Mhm.
at the same time, which is why he looks like that. Which is like a very sad case of winning the lottery in reverse. So,
Yeah.
but I always found that a very strange explanation.
Yeah,
Uh,
why don't we see that kind of anomalies right now? Like these kind of children are being born or having alien heads right now. There are more people on Earth, so there should be more probability of having these kind of apparitions. Just call them apparitions. But
yeah,
you don't see it in this world, but you will find skeletons back in the day, and then you will find this. Yeah, I don't know, but it doesn't look like human, but it is a humanoid for sure.
yeah. It's a very strange case, and I'll link this website down below so that people can do their own research and you know do their own make their own conclusions on it. But it's one of those examples of things found in the Atacama Desert that make you scratch your head. And of course, by the way, about this one, there was something similar found in Russia, which looks very similar to this one. And they also sort of reached the same conclusions that
Yeah,
Stephen Greer
and
did.
same with the Mexico thing, right?
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. So I pulled up also that one because that was so you can tell the story while I'll pull it up. Wait.
Well, just pull it up because the story is simple. This scientist or also a kook, depends how you are looking at him. I look at him as a scientist, but a lot of people are calling him a kook. He discovered these skeletons, and then he he tried to show it back in 2016-17. It was debunked, but then he got approval from Mexico Senate, whatever the version of Senate they have, but like Parliament, and then
Got
he
it.
showed it over there, and then he invited scientists to come and do their experiment on that. Scientists said like send them the samples, but he said no, you have to come here. We are not going to send you the samples.
Yeah. So that was NASA's response, like, "Oh, we just want to do the science." So and well, luckily they also did the science in Mexico, so
Yeah.
NASA doesn't have to do it. And this was the conclusion that they had after doing the science.
El primer estudio que se hizo fue una tomografía computarizada. El segundo estudio que se hizo fueron placas de rayos X simple. Y el tercero fue un estudio de fluoroscopía. En los tres estudios se trató de ver la estructura, el esqueleto de estos cuerpos, y se logró determinar que sí pertenece a un esqueleto único, no armado, de una sola pieza íntegra, que no se observa ninguna especie de armado o de manipulación del cráneo, como lo han dicho.
Que comieron, que habitaron.
In other words, it's the real deal.
Yeah. But then
So
again, they come with the same explanation. It's like a deformed baby.
yeah. So that's sort of the standard explanation, that you got like tons of deformed figures in that area for some
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah. I don't trust our scientists anymore because they are in their bubble and they cannot accept anything which is outside their bubble. They are like, this is what it is, this is what their ancestor told them, and that's what we're gonna follow. It's like the extreme version of a religion, because even religion, like look at Catholics, they are open to other ideas now. At one point they were not, but at least in our time they are open to new ideas, they are open towards alien, and they are looking all those things. But scientists today are so limited, they cannot even listen what other people have to say. They always try to find a problem with that.
Yeah, and so that's basically the topic of today, right? Denial.
Denial,
And,
yeah.
you got it in many different forms, and I think we can start with scientists because that's as good a place to start as any. And I found this really cool interview with Kevin Knuth. I think he's really great. He's like very down to earth, very salt of the earth kind of guy. And and he has his own theories about why that is the case. But before I jump into that, I also want to sort of first show this fragment where he also talks, and then I'll do the second one right after it. Here we go.
Usually leads me to saying something like, people often criticize observers, saying, why did you assume this was a spaceship? And the answer is really pretty simple, because they move as fast as spaceships move. Their accelerations are on the order of thousands of Gs of acceleration. And they've been tracked at speeds easily up to 40,000 miles an hour, in some cases up to 200,000 miles an hour, which is really, our fastest spaceships are about 40,000 miles an hour. The New Horizons probe that visited Pluto right now is traveling about 45,000 miles an hour. So historically, this was known, actually. Hermann Oberth, who was a rocketry pioneer, he was actually the mentor of Wernher von Braun. So he's not just some silly guy. This is a rocketry pioneer. He gave a talk in 1954 on UFOs. And he noted that they had been measured with radar traveling at speeds up to 19 kilometers a second. 19 kilometers a second is about 42,000 miles an hour, which is about as fast as the New Horizons probe. And this is entirely consistent with the calculations that I've done. And he goes on to note in his talk that had there just been one or two radar observations, he would think that the radar observations were probably wrong. But he said that he had seen up to 50 of them. So this has been...
Yeah. So so this is not like, and this was in the 1940s, right? So we're talking about Roswell period.
Yeah, well, at the time when they used to call it Foo Fighters.
Yeah. So and of course, one of the first one that David Grush mentions is the one which is also tied to the Vatican, right? Because the Vatican sort of affirmed that it was the case, that there was this UFO crash during the time of Mussolini, and that the CIA later retrieved the crash parts after the war was over, or maybe during the war, I don't know. But yeah, it's during that period of the Foo Fighters, and they show the same characteristics as they have right now, and it was before Hollywood or before all these movies came out and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then again, like back in 1561, there was an event in Basel. That's my actually new piece which I'm working on, art piece,
Cool.
to reanimate that scene where people saw UFO. Basically, they saw two different types of orbs, different colors, like two different armies fighting in the sky in the middle of the day. It wasn't even a night, and they were firing each other. A lot of them getting destroyed, and some of them were falling off. And then a black triangle appeared in the sky, and then everything just disappeared.
Wow.
A lot of people reported that there is only one drawing of it, so I'm using that as a reference to recreate that scene. So that will be my next piece. Yeah, it will take few months because I draw very slow, so it will take few months. It will be a free mint, so you guys can mint it, but it will be just reanimating with using new shapes of the UFOs, because at that time they just saw orbs. I think they just saw circles because they were in the sky, but now we have the more definition of those crafts. So I'm going to include all those tic tac craft, triangle craft, and the standard
Cylindrical.
cylindrical, and the standard, the saucer. So I'm trying to build a scene which is more modernized.
Okay, when it's finished, you should do sort of like an exhibition or sort of a reveal on the bigger picture.
Yeah, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna explain the whole event, and I will put the art piece out.
Yeah, because you're also an NFT artist, so for the people who are watching, Syd is a very very good NFT artist. Has some really cool pieces. I always link it down below in the video also. So for people who are curious about it, check it out. But we're talking about the denial, and Kevin Knuth has actually a really good insight on what might be the case that makes scientists behave the way that they behave. And actually, Richard Dolan also has another explanation which I also really like. But this one is from Kevin Knuth. Oh, wait, I have to turn on the sound. Here we go. Oh, wait.
Technical
a
issue.
paperclip. Right? So now to assume that quantum gravity isn't going to allow you to do anything interesting is kind of silly, right? This is not a minuscule quantum effect. I mean, this is macroscopic. It's big, right? You can pick up big things. You can pick up cars with magnets. We do that all the time. Big effect. So to assume that, these that we know all of our physics and the physics that we're missing is inconsequential is really pretty silly. Physicists need to have a little more humility, I think. And of course, then there's the whole dark matter issue, that 85% of the mass in the universe is not made of this stuff. All right, we don't know what it's made of. We don't know what 85% of the universe is made of. And we're going to then say, well, we pretty much know everything. No, there's a problem there. And that's the problem that I think academics suffer from. They don't really understand what the situation is, and partly because that's not taught to them. We don't teach physics that way. We teach about what we know, and I think that's perhaps a mistake.
I'm gonna give you my number one tip to get over a breakup.
That's truly annoying commercials. Yeah. But that was exactly what needed to stop. So basically, he says a couple of things. First of all, that what we don't know is presented as something that we do know. Like you give it a label and then you say problem solved.
Yeah.
Only the label needs to get bigger and bigger because the stuff that you don't know grows over time. That's Kuhn's structure of scientific revolutions, Thomas Kuhn. And on the other hand, he also says at the same time that it is the way that we are taught that is the problem. Because basically physics and most other sciences is taught to students as a way to say, like, this is all the stuff that we know. So they basically never know about this. They basically never teach about the stuff that they don't know. So they don't really teach you how to think. They teach you what is already thought about and figured out. And
but the problem starts with when you go to like primary school, they start with laws of Newton. They are the biggest problem because they are not laws. They are not correct. They just work in on our planet. But the moment you go out of the planet, that's not gonna work. Like you can leave the orbit with those things, but when you are in the space, nothing gonna work. Newtonian physics is not correct physics. The problem is, like, when you are teaching a kid that this is the law, then most of the time they just believe that that's how the religion works. When you teach a child that this is the religion, this is the correct one, all other religions are false, and that's how they brought up and that's how they believe in and that's how they die. Same thing is happening with the science. But with the religion, we don't know if it's right or wrong. With Newtonian laws, we know they are not correct. Even Einstein thing was like disproving the Einsteinian gravity is very different from Newtonian gravity. But that's how they are believed to, like, that's how they're taught to believe, and that's how they think. They still think Newton is the most genius person. He was very genius, invented calculus, but then again, he's not the most genius. If you ask me, Einstein was way more genius than Newton. I don't know why.
And besides that, right, Newton also had a very big interest in astrology and a lot of occult.
You need to teach children that that's what we used to believe, but like update the science subject, like teach them the real things.
That's basically. So for example, another thing that I didn't know when I studied philosophy was, and I learned that from Reza Giorgiani, reading Reza Giorgiani, which is excellent thinker, by the way, was that most philosophers actually also wrote about and thought about the anomalous and the supernatural. So René Descartes, Immanuel Kant, Nietzsche, Bergson, basically all of them also had writings about the supernatural that are not highlighted during your study. I had absolutely no idea. I had to hear it from somebody else. And when you then look at it, for example, Kant's Critique der reine Vernunft, is basically modeled on Immanuel Swedenborg's works. So it's and actually Kant wrote a critique of Swedenborg, where the tone of the piece was very mocking, but the content was very sober and taking Swedenborg very serious. And basically, the Kritik der reine Vernunft of Kant is modeled on the work of Swedenborg's, who was like a psychic and who actually predicted some stuff, some really big stuff, like a huge fire which happened like 1,000 miles away a few days after he made the prediction. So clearly Kant was intrigued by these supernatural abilities and was troubled by them, and he tried to sort of categorize and when you sort of look at Kant's philosophy, it's very sort of demarcated, right? So you got the spiritual sphere over here, then you got like the real world over there. It's like René Descartes' work, which I also didn't know. So René Descartes was actually Jesuit. Like he was schooled by the Jesuits.
Yeah. No, also one thing, when it comes to anything paranormal, scientists are taught to believe that nothing exists outside this physical world. Everything is just a lie made up by the religion, which is a very wrong way of looking at, because like religion, I think what religion was doing back in the day, trying to explain scientific ideas of that time into the language of the religion so people could understand at that time. Now we have a better tool, which is science. What scientists of our time did, they turned that tool into a religion. The moment you go outside the box, you are being ridiculed by the scientists. And this has recently happened in the Joe Rogan podcast with when Flynn Dibble, the archaeologist, had a discussion with Graham Hancock.
Yeah.
And everybody should go and listen to it and see the difference, how limited these archaeologists, which are like the part of scientific world, they are so limited, they cannot even understand. And the way they ridiculed Graham Hancock for no reason, called him a white supremacist just because he promoted one idea, it was so stupid that they always attack anyone who try to use science as a tool to discover new thing, and which is going to disprove their theories.
Yeah, and he has a colored wife and mixed kids.
Exactly, he like an Indian wife. Like
Yeah.
how can he be a racist? Again, also this guy is like, when you listen to him, you won't find any sense of racism in his
No.
like works. And I don't know why they attacked him, and they just made a fool. The scientific community just made a fool of themselves by calling it, because we all can see what is true.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And why would someone spend 30 years of his adult life after having being a successful reporter? Because before this, he was like a successful BBC reporter, right?
Yeah.
You know, he did a piece on the Ark, the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Sorry, the Ark of the Covenant, and there was this sort of story that it might have been located in Ethiopia. And then that sort of led him down the rabbit hole, and made him write all those books and doing 30 years of research. And basically the same story happened to Richard Dolan, right? Because Richard Dolan was also an academically schooled historian who was very skeptical and very negative about the whole UFO field. And he thought, like, I'm going to just study it for a few weeks. And then, I'll come to my conclusions, and then it will probably all be fake. And now, 30 years later, he's still writing books and has no idea what the hell is going on. Right?
Yeah.
And the same thing is happened with John Mack. So John Mack was a Nobel laureate psychiatrist, one of the world's, at that time, one of the world's most renowned. And he basically thought the same thing, like, okay, we got these people who claim they are abducted. So I'm going to study it for a few weeks, and they're probably hysteric and psychotic, and they had like a psychotic breakdown or whatever, and then I'll move on. And then turned out the life work, and he eventually died in a car accident.
Yeah, like the Boeing whistleblowers are committing suicide.
Yeah, that's also very sad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So, did you see? It's like the third whistleblower committed a suicide. Like, why?
yeah,
Anyway,
that's very common amount among Boeing
yeah, but
employees.
yeah, if it was one, I understand. Like, come on, guys, update your method. You can't make them commit suicide. You have to find different creative ways to kill these people. You can't just do the same thing. Now
Yeah.
everybody's suspicious. Like, three people committed suicide who were Boeing whistleblowers. Anyway,
Well, but
speaking of no, Ark of the Covenant, I think this is about to come in the news now. I think
okay.
that's why they are updating the uh, guidelines. I think they have discovered it. They are about to do something crazy. The religious nuts.
Well, yeah. Well, okay. So that's I'm actually at the moment I'm trying to find the suicide note because yeah.
Yeah, fine. I'll talk about it. I think the whole solar storms are related to that because it's not the first time we are in the solar maximum. We have previously experienced solar maximum, but nothing was like that. Like you're getting northern lights in Eu- Europe is crazy, or in Australia. So I think something more paranormal is about to happen. I think Ark of the Covenant will be a part of it, which is
Oh,
like the biggest thing for it.
I,
Oh,
I
Mario.
found it here. So
Yeah.
this is what it reads: a Boeing whistleblower suicide note. I pray Boeing pays. Whistleblowing protection is f up. America, come together or die. To my family and friends, I love you. I found my purpose. I'm at peace. So this is like the suicide note that they found.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think it kind of sort of speaks for itself. But
He wrote Boeing in the end. The big Boeing with three exclamation mark.
what does it mean?
Yeah.
So hard to figure out. Yeah, but yeah, so it's contagious suicide in Boeing.
In Boeing whistleblowers. As long as you're not blowing whistle on Boeing, you're fine.
Yeah,
You'll be nice. You'll have a good life. The
and of
moment you yeah.
and of course, I think a couple of shows ago we also showed like how you got many different aerospaces and military organizations and businesses sort of starting off like you got like 80 or 90 like 100 years ago, and then they merged into four big ones like
Yeah.
Raytheon, Boeing, Northrop, and
Grumman.
yeah, and DARPA, and
Yeah.
there's another one that
Yeah,
I'm
there
Lockheed, of course.
Lockheed, yeah.
Yeah. So, and of course, these are also then the people that sort of block legislation from Chuck Schumer, when they sort of got together last year and they had this really amazing document, this bill that needed to be passed in the defense budget. And then it got blocked by certain Republican senators who happened to be located in districts of Lockheed Martin. And then just before the bill was voted on, Lockheed also mentioned, like, we don't want to comment. We want to leave this to politics.
Yeah, they don't comment, they just fund.
Yeah.
They just fund the senators who gonna vote for it. So that's how it works.
Yeah. It was very disappointing. But we also have some good news. I see we're getting so sidetracked. It's impossible to do this.
Yeah,
But
but there's so many things are happening right now. So what can we do? Let's
what can
hear the
we
good news. Yeah.
Okay, the good news came out yesterday, and that's this one. I'm gonna pull it out. Here we go. So this was also in a defense budget. Federal agencies must now deliver all UFO reports for public disclosure, including classified material. So federal agencies have until October 20th this year to deliver every document, audio, and video they have about UFOs to the US government for distribution to the public. National Archives and Records Administration, the ANARA, issued the instructions this month, putting into action the UFO Disclosure Amendment to the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act, as signed into law last December. So this was kind of a sneaky roundabout way for them to force disclosure on agencies. Now, of course, they don't have to comply right? But that then if they don't comply, they are in violation of the
Well, this
law.
is not the first time they're in violation, and
That's true.
so I don't think they will comply. After witnessing last 2 years of slow drip disclosure, nothing happened. I don't think this will change anything, but let's hope something happened. It depends on the one more thing. If Trump is the president again in the future, then things might change because he is like out of the box kind of a thing, and he do stupid things, and he might force people to release this information. So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
and I think his father was actually, or no, his uncle was, I think, some kind of scientist or engineer
yeah,
or something, and he
yeah,
was also involved with Tesla, sort of at least in the cover up of Tesla.
yeah, yeah. In the cover of Tesla, yes, his uncle was involved in that.
Yeah, yeah. So there's this connection, at least among conspiracy theorists, that Trump is part of the Rockefellers, and the Dems are more the Rothschilds, and there's sort of this battle going on between the two. And the Trump faction prefers more of a libertarian. They have a more libertarian streak, and the Rothschilds have a more totalitarian streak. Um, but both, of course, are for profit and power, and
Exactly.
yeah,
Also, both are fighting with each other, so there is a possibility because of that fight, one group want to destroy the other, so they might release some information.
yeah,
Also, we can see the financial system collapsing right now.
yeah,
Like China
yeah.
just dumped like $53 billion worth of US bonds, which means like financial collapse is coming. So everything is about to go nuts. And if the solar flare which is about to hit us, I don't know when, but like there is a news that it will be terrible. It will shut off the grid. And if that happened, that's the ideal time to abandon the previous financial system and introduce CBDC.
Yeah, so it was not hard to see that 2024 will be like a very difficult and very bumpy year, right? With a lot of issues and
Yeah.
big things going to happen. And it turns out, I didn't know, but in astrological terms, it turns out to be also a very sort of year with big changes,
Yeah.
with a lot of strange planetary movements and
So
processions and
2025 is the solar maxima. So, the height of the solar cycle is the solar maxima is 1 year, and that's is 2025. So, I think whatever is happening in 2024, 2025 will be more active in terms of solar radiation and solar flares and geomagnetic storms.
so more radiation.
More radiation. So, probably the end of the world. Not the end of the world, but like end of the current system.
Yeah. So, but talking about that, right? So, and we talked about that also many times before. But one of the reasons, there's a couple of reasons why all this stuff is probably coming out, right? So, and one of the main reasons is that the system is collapsing, right?
Yeah.
Because as the system, the world global euro dollar system, sort of is running out of steam and starts, collapsing in on itself. It
Yeah.
means that everybody starts fighting among themselves,
Hmm.
and that means that the structure that kept things secret crumbles, and
Hmm.
that means that secrets start leaking, and that the leakers also do that in order to protect themselves. Maybe also their money starts getting worthless, or they don't get paid enough anymore to keep up with inflation, or
Yeah.
or they might want to switch sides to the other team, or they don't want to go down with the ship and be sacrificed or scapegoated when the thing goes down.
Yeah.
So these are all kind of reasons why this stuff is coming out. And then on top of that, of course, as these factions are fighting among each other, they might also want to take control, if this stuff is real, of the stuff that has been kept, right?
So we are basically, other than the conspiracy groups, we are official news is we are divided into two groups. One is like American faction, other one is like BRICS. And BRICS today they dumped so many US dollar bonds, and then they are releasing their own currency which they're going to use to trade. So financial crisis is imminent, and US dollar is going to shit. So I will say just have other things ready.
Yeah, and then one of the clear signs that the system is collapsing, and it might always take longer than you think,
Yeah,
because
of course.
because it can also take another couple of years. I mean, the World Economic Forum didn't pick 2030 for no reason, right? They probably thought that it will take till about 2030 to have this all wrapped up. So it might go slower than you think, but when it happens, it will probably go very quickly. And one of the reasons, one of the signs that things are going really bad is the treasuries are dumping, but gold is going up together with the dollar, right? So and that is very unusual, because usually when the dollar goes up, gold should go down. So apparently central banks around the world are waking up to the fact that the dollar is worthless and a
And
liability.
all the banks are moving towards Bitcoin. Recently, Bank of Montreal, like in Canada, they released the information that they hold a lot of Bitcoin from BlackRock ETF.
Yeah.
So a
So
lot
this
of
is
yeah.
so this is very good for Bitcoin. Of course, this could be the super cycle. Of course, who knows? Maybe it's
Yeah,
more.
this is going to be a super cycle depending on the solar flare attack, because if it shut down our grid, then we will lose access to everything.
Yep.
But the difference is, like, the moment we get back the electricity, Bitcoin will, like, all the ledgers will be saved. With the banking current system, they are not on blockchain, so there is a high chance we will lose that data. But Bitcoin or the blockchains is like a nest of network, right? So
Yeah.
nest of computers in that network, so even one just starts up, everything is back to normal.
And one of the interesting things that I found out is that the bunkers that have been built for the last 20 plus years,
Yeah,
since 2007 2008, like you got these luxurious bunkers that are built by billionaires and millionaires, and you got some really interesting interviews about that also.
yeah, Mark Zuckerberg have one.
Yeah. But one of the features that many of these bunkers have is a Bitcoin mining rack.
Huh,
Uh-huh.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So what you said, you only need like one computer running the blockchain and running the nodes, and you got that like a backup. And
Yeah.
especially if you have like a multiple bunkers around the world running these nodes and mining rigs, then you can actually reboot the system, or even keep it going while it's happening.
Yeah, if they have like the power underneath in the bunker, I don't think EMP will affect that. So that will be like they will keep it running. But
Yeah,
even if it somehow stops, I think they can restart it anytime.
yeah, that's also one of the things that Michael Saylor said not so long ago, was that even when you have like a nuclear holocaust or whatever, you only need to restart the system and then it's up and running again, right? Bitcoin can be out for 10 years and then start where it was 10 years
Yeah.
later.
So yeah, I think it's a good hedge for against the dollar, basically.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can go back to the topic, the Hill article you pulled up, and we
Oh,
just didn't talk about that. Yeah.
oh yeah. Well, that I'm just pulling some stuff up while we're talking.
Okay. Yeah.
But
So yeah.
yeah.
Go
Oh
ahead.
yeah. Well, now anyway. So we're sort of talking about why do people believe what they believe and especially deny the truth about this stuff, or at least what we think is the truth. And one of the things is of course ridicule.
Yeah.
And that has been a very successful way to keep this under wraps. And what you said earlier also reminds me of whistleblowers, right? So why doesn't anybody want to be a whistleblower? And that is if you're in a group and the group is right, then you win, right? But if you're in a group and the group is wrong, well, then you win too, right? But because then everybody's wrong, and then it doesn't really matter.
It
But
doesn't
if
matter.
you're a whistleblower, then you're no longer part of the group, right? So then it's you
Yeah,
against the group. So if you're against the group and you're right, the whole group hates you and wants to kill you, right? And then you die.
yeah,
So, but if you're wrong, then you're wrong. So you lose either way. So either you're wrong and you're a whistleblower and you'll be puked out, and you'll never get a job again, or you
yeah,
are right, and then it's even worse because you might get killed. Or if you're in the group and you keep your mouth shut, it doesn't matter if you're right or wrong, because it doesn't matter.
yeah. It's like win-win situation versus lose-lose situation.
Yeah. So it takes a lot of courage to be outside of the group.
And then we are talking about big whistleblowing about those things. Look at what happened to Julian Assange, Edward Snowden. Somehow, Edward Snowden was is smart enough to leave America and go to Russia to take refuge over there. But if he was here, we know what would have happened to him.
Yeah.
Either died. It wasn't a big whistleblowing because we all knew it somehow what is happening. We didn't have a proof, he just provided the proof. But like people like us, we already knew what was happening. It wasn't a when the news of of Edward Snowden came out, it wasn't a surprise to me. Somehow I knew it, I just didn't have the proof for it.
Yeah, but that's often the problem, of course, right? You don't have proof,
Yeah,
and even if you have proof, it can often be discounted. And especially within the UFO field, it's often secondhand information, it's documents, it's hearsay, or it's anecdotal, or it's very, and the UFOs, they really appear as very sort of personal, very subjective experiences.
yeah,
Often, like they have sort of overarching features that are similar,
yeah,
or there's similarities between all these sightings, but each case is very different, and the way the UFOs appear are also very different. Even though they have similarities, there are also huge differences in size, in light, in shape,
but this
what they
is,
do.
I don't think that difference matter, because I think that's a matter of perception, because I don't think they are in our physical space.
Yeah.
They are like coming out of some other space and just flashing out. So I don't think they're, you know, like the example of the flatland, when
Mm.
the 3D object enters there, it looks like a 2D circle. Like
Yeah.
when you enter a sphere, it looks like a circle, and everybody is viewing it differently. I think this is happening the same. They are coming from a different dimension, and people are perceiving it differently. But it is possible that it has one shape, but people with different level on the simulation seeing it differently.
But even if it's not intentional, like maybe it's just a feature of, like what you said, it is a sort of nice camouflage, right?
Yeah,
Because it makes each sighting sort of the effect of a crazy person talking, right? Like somebody having a psychotic breakdown or something,
yeah,
right? You can sort of push it away if you want to, right? You can ignore it, and that's often also what happens, right? And another thing is also what happens with ridicule is that people don't share these experiences publicly, right? And that has been the case for a very long time, up until, like, I think maybe 10 years ago, that people started talking about it openly. And of course, the internet was a huge part in that. But before that time, you usually only shared it, if at all, with close friends who you knew you could trust with this information without being ridiculed.
yeah.
So it could be actually that large parts of the population have these experiences, but that nobody wants to share them openly because they're afraid of being laughed at.
Yeah, but also I don't think large part of the population is having that, because we are so busy in our lives. Like how many times you go out and look up in the sky? It's
Yeah.
very rare. So people are busy in their own troubles, they don't care. Very few people on earth who actually go out and experience these things. So I agree that these are rare events, and people are not hiding it, because if anybody usually sees something, they always tell to the people.
I'm not sure about that,
If
but
no, unless you are like a on in the military or the high scientists, they don't. But like normal people, normies like us,
yeah.
if we see this stuff, we are like, I'm telling it to everyone. And I notice that a lot of the time people make up ghost stories. They just experience something and they try to tell that they had that experience. So I don't think a lot of people are having that experience because they are too busy in their bubble. We live
Well,
in the city, most of us, and we don't go out, and we are covered by the city lights. We don't even see stars.
yeah,
So
well, yeah,
yeah,
but that's sort of what I'm trying to get at is, part with the modernization of our world is, like you said, you got city lights that are sort of hiding the sky. We live in boxes, right? For
yeah,
most of the time, people stay inside. We got phones,
yeah,
and a very busy life that gets more busy as the system, winds down, because then people have to work
yeah,
harder to earn less. So people are super busy and distracted by, and the system falls apart. So you got wars everywhere. So you got tons of distractions, and they're only getting worse and more as the system implodes. So people have very little time to look at UFOs. So on the one hand, you could also say that UFOs are used as another distraction to sort of take people's eyes away from the corruption or from some other devious stuff that they're doing. But it's also sort of like a priming, right? And one of the things that has changed, especially with our generation and Gen Z after us, is that they have been sort of acclimatized to this reality, right? Through tons
yeah,
and tons and tons of Hollywood movies and series, and the internet, and these kind of sort of discussions that we are doing, where people are started, talking openly about, this stuff and their own experiences. So the time is sort of ripe for this stuff to come out. And that's also why I think you see at the same time this clampdown on information and internet and censorship, because if this ball keeps rolling, and as these leaks continue to come out, and as this infighting grows, and as this technology expands, right? Because at some point the technology becomes so apparent, and there's so many people working on it, that it becomes impossible to keep secret, and especially also with adversaries who are also developing it. So you also are in a race between
yeah.
those two, like who's gonna disclose it first, because that will give the edge over the other one. So there's this clock that's ticking, and they need to disclose it or subject us, right? It's one or the other, right? Either you disclose this stuff and bring it out in the open, or you have to subject the entire world,
Uh,
and put them in a straitjacket.
Also, there's like that conspiracy idea that there's like a galactic federation out there which want the disclosure, and they, because our government is not telling us, so they are giving us these chunks like of these experience, so government is forced to explain these, like you show a UFO in the sky and everybody saw it, now they have to give an explanation, so they are forcing it because our government is so corrupt and they don't want to show it. So there are so many possibilities. I don't know what's the reality, but what I know, these phenomena are real and we don't have explanation for it.
Yeah, and then there's also some other things, right? Because also with science and the scientific progress, and sort of science presenting itself as a priesthood, one of the things that we are being taught from early on, but also in most Hollywood movies and series, is that you're not allowed to trust your own eyes because of pareidolia. You're not allowed to
Yeah,
trust your own memory because it's faulty, and with eyewitness testimony is crap. And so basically human beings are crap. They're not worth listening to. The only thing that you should listen to is your television set and the people of authority, right? So basically we're being told that we are not trustworthy, and that we can't trust our own senses, that we can't trust our own sense making, that we need to give that.
this bubble is about to pop because of the AI. All the deep fakes out there. You cannot trust any video at this point or any audio at this time. So you have to go back to the four witnesses way, where four people who have to come and witness that, yeah, I saw this crime happen. So now the eyewitness testimony gonna be the top one, because you
Yeah,
can never trust a video again.
but there's also another side to that, and that's of course what they are pushing. Those who want to centralize control is like, you can only trust the videos that have like a blue check mark, that are vetted by the fact checkers that we employ. right? So
Yeah, but
and
that is
all other
failed.
information is fake.
No, but because of the COVID experiment, all the blue check mark information at that time turned out to be false. So people are not buying into it. In order to control people, you need to earn their trust, and you cannot earn trust with those ways. So I think the only way they have to go back, in my opinion, the only way people gonna trust is like other people. So they have to go back to the eyewitness testimony. And I'm not talking like right now, you can still trust video and they can be verified, but there will be a point in the future where reality won't be like, there won't be any difference between real videos and the AI generated videos, which are already very strong right now. So we will see what's going to
Yeah.
happen, but I don't think people will trust authorities anymore, because they lied and lied and lied again. And our generation is very different from the previous generation. That's what they didn't encounter, because boomers were really really stupid. They believed everything they were taught. Millennials are one way, that millennials are the people who believe that some things, but they don't believe everything. But the next generation, Gen Z, after that, is like, we don't believe anything, because all they have learned is like lies, and their lies shattered in front of their eyes. So the
Yeah.
world is changing, and they cannot encounter for that effect. This is like, truth is rising again, and people are more educated.
Yeah, but in when you got confusion and chaos and things are falling apart, and people they run back to the group, right? And they run back to authority. They seek the things that they are familiar with, that gives the safety blankets, right? So
Yeah, but that was in the past, when people did not have information. The problem with this new technology, social media, and all this IT, people have information. They can access knowledge without going to the library. They just, like, whatever people have to find back in the day, they have to go, like, they have to write the topic in their head, and then they go weekly basis, they go to the library, get the book. Right now, what they have to do, if they think of something, they type it on the search engine, and they get the authentic notes of it, like
yeah.
authentic facts on their fingertips. This was never happened. So back in the day, people used to go in the group. I don't think it's gonna happen unless you turn off the grid. Then people have to go. But if, as long as we have this grid, there are some negative effects of it, but there are some positive, that people are more intelligent now because they have more knowledge
Yeah,
of it.
and it's kind of interesting because when you sort of talk to people, there's of course many different kind of people, as many people as there are people, but there's also sort of globally there's like two groups, right? There's the group that still believes in the official narrative, and there's
Yeah,
the
but they
people who are waking up,
this is
and
what
then
I'm saying. They are like the people who are already old and boomer
yeah, yeah,
mentality, but the new generation, which will replace the old generation in few years, they will be very different from them, because most of the people from previous generation, they can't even access, they don't understand social media. They tweet and stuff like that, but they don't utilize it to learn new stuff. New generation is like very different. Like, even me back in the day, I was so stupid, but now, because of Google, I, whenever I'm free, I'm learning new things. Or because of the YouTube, there was always a new video out which is discussing so many topics, and your knowledge base is growing in your head. If you don't remember stuff, at least you have the reference point, and you go and you realize there is more to the reality than we were taught. So the difference is, the previous generation was so stupid, they believed everything. Then the millennial generation, which is mixed, some of them believe, some of them don't. And the next generation, Gen Z, which is replacing millennials, they are even more advanced in terms of their thinking abilities and their knowledge base.
yeah. But what I wanted to say is like, so what you often find out when you sort of then press the issue, right? When you're talking to somebody who still believes official narrative, is that they basically get their information from newspapers
Hmm.
and news channels, like TV news channels.
Yeah.
And so they're basically still people who watch the traditional television programming and read newspapers. And then they often say like, yeah, but the newspapers, they fact check and they have, they did their due diligence. These are really serious people. They, there's not like blabbering on the internet or on YouTube videos. They have done their homework. They have studied. They're working in an editorial board. So there's lots of people looking over the article before it's published. Like so they have this this belief that whatever exists within that square is real, and everything that's outside of the square is fake. So you can't trust your own eyes. If something is happening over there and it's not in the newspaper, it's not happening, right? It's not true.
Yeah,
So
but these people are boomers,
they're
as I
living in a
said.
box.
No, but they are boomers. They're about to get replaced.
Yeah.
So, like, when was the last time you bought a newspaper and read it? I don't remember.
I use it for the litter box.
Exactly. But to be honest, like, newspaper, nobody reads it in my circle, and it's like a very big circle. I'm not talking about like my physical circle, but my digital circle, where am connected to so many people. Nobody reads it. Everybody is getting their facts online. And one thing what I notice as a trend, nobody trusts the official news sites. They always go to the alternate resources. So the tides are turning,
Yeah,
and the people who believed in that box are not in majority, but they are in the power positions right now, and they will be replaced very soon, I guess.
yeah, but you do see this effort or this pushback, right? So from the top, there's this global effort that is clearly aimed at controlling each and every one of us, right? So if we give in to that to them, the future looks really bleak, right? And they do this through these international organizations where there's no accountability, no transparency, not any form of democracy. And they do it through national emergencies that are seemingly never ending, and that they probably create mostly themselves, either indirectly through the system blowing up or directly because it fits their agenda. And if we keep walking down this path, then we will end up in like a futuristic prison system. And oh yeah, there's talking about futuristic prison systems. There was another piece of news that I wanted to share, but I think we didn't even cover any of the.
We have to do it next week to cover the rest of the news.
Oh my god, it's almost impossible to give this like a headline because I don't know which will be covered. But anyway,
Yeah.
so this is
That's why it's a bigger picture, right? So
yeah.
cover everything.
So this was the news from Neuralink. So they're looking for new applicants, new people to sort of who want an implant from Neuralink.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this one was from Elon Musk himself.
Yeah, I read that yesterday. It was everywhere in the news that they're looking for a new person, new stupid person. Not stupid, because like if you are disabled, I think that's the best way for you to go. Because like yeah, no, but like yeah, you cannot move and do anything. You have a tool. So for a disabled person, I understand it. Why they gonna get it? But I will never take it ever.
Yeah, but as soon as somebody does, like a healthy person, and it gives that person huge powers, of perception or knowledge or memory,
Yeah.
and they will outpace and outcompete anybody else in the marketplace. It kind of forces others to follow.
Exactly, and a lot of people will fall for it. I am not going to fall for it. Even if they promise immortality, I will never go for it. Even though I want immortality, but not this way, because I don't think it will be me. I will be definitely mind controlled by them.
Yeah, Sid, I think we have to wrap it up because we could probably go on for another hour. And so we didn't even mention AARO or the Acorn. So I'm kind of
Yeah, we will probably do it in the next one. We will have more news because I think there is something more cooking up right now. So by the time we will do our next episode, we will have more news out of it.
yeah,
So
and
let's
and there's even more because just to give some teasers and for the people to go out there and check for themselves. Ashton Forbes is blowing up with MH37, 370, I should say. So that's the stuff that he's revealing and that he's talking about is really mind-blowing stuff. He's like a true hero. But you also have the Peru issue we didn't talk about.
Mhm.
We also have Skinwalker Ranch, like the new season starting.
Yes.
So that is, and we haven't even done one episode on Skinwalker. So
We need to plan that one.
yeah, we really
Yeah.
need. And Skinwalker is probably itself like 10 episodes. So, so for the people who don't know Skinwalker, I'll also link it down below. Then you can take a sneak peek. It's really cool, and it's in my opinion 100% authentic. It's the real deal. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to talk about, and there's way more stuff. Yeah, I think there will also be more revelations this year, don't you think? I think
Oh,
there's
I
more
think
panels
way more.
coming, and yeah.
And I think we will see big aurora lights. Like the last time we had was nothing.
Yeah.
We will see more. But one more thing I want to discuss. I was reading HARP because a lot of people were accusing HARP of doing that, and then I realized that not I realized I read the news on their official website that they were doing a big experiment on May 10th when we get those aurora lights. It's a big coincidence, for in my opinion, to have the experiment by HARP on the same day when we get like unusual northern lights. They were so unusual that I saw it from my backyard.
Yeah, I saw the pictures. They're really spectacular. And
Yeah, but like you don't see them from the city lights because of the city lights, right? That's like a pollution. Light pollution is so bad in the cities, and I live in a very big city like Vancouver. It's covered by the lights everywhere. And from my backyard I was looking at the green lights in the sky.
it kind of reminded me of the Carrington effect, that you could see the northern lights at the equator.
Yeah,
Uh,
it was back in the day.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm really curious because you often hear this like what you said, like will be the end of the world, and things will break. If it really happens, it will be the end of the world, right? They did simulations.
End of the technology
Yeah.
for 2 weeks, not the end, like pause on the technology, because what happened in the Carrington event that burned out all the telegraph at that time, but that was the highest technology we had. Now everything is a technology.
Yeah, so the idea is if the power is out for like longer than a couple of weeks, is that you will have millions dead because the water system, all these kind of equipment and essentials,
Food.
yeah, food, everything needs electricity these days, and the supply chains are very fragile. And
I bought like bunch of 10 cans for at least 3 weeks just in case. And I'm saving
yeah,
it like just in case something happened. But then I also realize we have electric stoves, so we won't be able to cook anything. So I need to gather the fucking uh, wood to.
I think some of those canned foods you can also eat cold, right?
Yeah, but then again, yeah, you can do that. That's like chickpeas and stuff, but like that
Yeah.
will be so bad, like eating cold canned food. But yeah, if you have to survive, you have to survive.
Yeah, that's true, and water, of course, right?
For water, I don't care much because I live in Vancouver and we have like big rivers.
Yeah,
So and
and
then so like
wildlife.
the water and wildlife too, but like we have also a lot of rivers, so we can just go and fill up the water.
Yeah, yeah.
It's yeah, so that's and then we have like salmon tunnels, no canals, where we have to like make a way for salmons to go back up to the BC. That's how they travel.
I
So
mean, with the bears.
for the bears, but what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna go to that canal and eat some salmon because they move so they are so visible. Like you just grab it from your hand.
Yeah. Uh, well, you know, in Holland, I think it would be quite a big mess. But on the other hand, it's pretty small, so maybe people would come together. I don't know.
I hope people will come together, but I don't think they're going to come together in North America because we are stupid people. We just look for a reason to fight. I don't know about Europe, you know the culture, but what I know in general in United States is going to be a nightmare. In Canada, it's like up for grabs. Depends how.
Yeah, yeah. Sort of my opinion is so. I think one of the reasons that you got these refugees coming in, and they're usually male, around 30 years old. So there's
Yeah,
not many women refugees, and usually the countries that are sending these people, or at least letting them go, are happy, are very happy that they're
yeah.
coming
This
over
is
here.
illegal immigration is like a very big question right now, especially
Yeah.
in the United States. Like you're getting Chinese from Mexico. Why?
Yeah, yeah. So basically, you got these buildups of discontent within the society, right? Between the original population, which is under pressure to sort of maintain and to to make it all work, and the
Yeah,
people who are actually in those camps, who are also very discontent because you're in a camp and you just came from a situation that's quite traumatic, and even if it wasn't, the whole trip is traumatic, and then you end up in a camp.
yeah,
So these people are very angry, obviously, and
yeah,
frustrated, and they come in a different culture that they have no idea about, and they thought they would get everything, and they won't.
yeah. And the moment grids went down, they will go nuts, and they
Uh-huh.
will. Yeah, that will be a nightmare. I never actually considered like
They will
illegal
release on the
like,
public.
in this situation. Oh my god, that will be a nightmare.
Yep.
Get your weapons ready.
Yeah,
Just
because you have to imagine that there won't be subsidies when this system blows up. So all
yeah,
the
it will mean
subsidies
nothing. You
disappear.
are on your own.
Yeah, and then these people will be free, and
Yeah,
they have to sort of make a living doing
yeah,
something.
yeah. They can eat people. I don't know. If
Well,
they are really
they-
hungry,
yeah.
that's the apocalyptic scene, right? If we are in the apocalypse, people gonna eat people.
And these people are, of course, they come from war zones, right? So they're used
Exactly.
to fighting.
Battle hardened.
Yep, yep. And usually, one of the things when reading the Marshmallow Test from Mitchell, which is a great book, by the way,
Hmm.
is that one of the things that happens with people who live in war zones and who are sort of traumatized by the war zone is that the frontal cortex, the function of it decreases, and the primal parts of the brain, in the English it's kind
The
of
lizard brain is
the
like
lizard brain takes over, right? So
takes
it's like you go for the marshmallow first. You
yeah.
have a very you're not very good at delaying gratification, and you want it
Mhm.
now while it's still there, because that's what you learn in a war zone, right? You go for it while it's there. And that's one of the other reasons that they have a very difficult time to sort of adjust to like a civilized
Yeah.
situation, because then you have to delay gratification again, and you can't
Mhm.
just grab whatever whatever comes your way. So that's what will be released on the public when the system goes down.
Yeah. Also, like, have your weapons ready. Uh,
Yeah, we don't
I
have any
don't.
weapons.
No, you can have a sword. It still is.
uh,
I don't have a gun too, right? I don't believe in guns, but I definitely have a big machete and few other knives because that's how I need. That's all I need to protect myself. I'm not going to go and fight a battle, but all I need is to protect myself, and I think one sword is enough for me.
yeah, and I
I
know,
don't think even guns gonna work after a big solar storm.
and I,
So
and I think another aspect to sort of consider is that a lot of these people have a more affinity for a totalitarian style government, right?
yeah,
So that's an added benefit, right?
that's an added benefit for the WEF World Economic Forum because they can submit to the totalitarian world. We won't because that's not how we work. We believe in democracy. We
Yeah,
want democracy. We want people to, even though we are fooled by democracy, it's not like a real democracy, but at least there is an illusion. Those
yeah.
people were ready to accept their new master because it's still better than what they had. So,
And I think two other things to also consider is, this whole sort of cultural conflict that is being sort of created, because I think it's not natural or organic. Also sort of forces people to give up their freedoms in order to sort of keep it all together,
Yeah.
and for them to sort of roll out and test and adjust their prison system, right, in order to prevent terrorist attacks and all that kind of stuff, so they can sort of perfect the control grid by stress testing the system on these people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just don't be hopeful for the future, but at least
Yeah.
I am not, and I'm preparing myself for everything. It doesn't matter. Nothing gonna surprise me at this time. Apocalypse, Ark of the Covenant, whatever. I am ready to fight
But
the aliens.
on the positive side, right? Because if the UFO thing is real, if this phenomenon is real, and I think so, you think so, and a lot of other people also think it's real, then it also really fits into these religious narratives, right? So, and these religious narratives are speaking quite openly about these
Angels and
forces.
demons.
Yeah, so whatever these forces are exactly, you
Yeah.
got sort of two or more camps, and they're gonna battle it out. And according to those religious texts, one of the two will win.
And
And
we know which side gonna win, the Jesus side,
so,
according to the philosophy,
yeah,
according to the books.
so at the very least, there's a party that is also playing, which we have no idea about, what they want, or who they are, and
Yeah.
what they will do. But so there is sort of an outside chance that things will miraculously land on their feet.
No, because Battle of Apok, like, if you go by the eschatology, it's not an easy path. It's going to be a nightmare until Jesus defeat the Antichrist. So it's going to be a bloodbath. Majority of the population will die, and very few survivors will be left.
Hey, but
And
Sid, I
then
wanted
Jesus
to give
comes.
a positive spin.
But at the end of the
You're
day,
ruining it.
we're gonna win. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
Good always win, but after destruction.
Okay. Well, and on that happy note, we'll end the show. Let's hope it won't be a bloodbath, and the 2024 will be, just another year.
I don't think it's going to be a bloodbath any soon. I'm talking about eschatology. It could be 1,000 years from now. I think whatever happening right now will pass. It's just
Yeah.
like a change of the financial system, which I think will happen for sure
Yeah, but I'm not
within
sure
the
if it
next
will be this year.
7-8 years. I think so.
Yeah. I think we no. Let's cross our fingers and
Yeah.
and hope for the best. But
All
yeah,
right.
better be prepared.
All right.
Okay.
Have fun. Bye.
Take care, and wish you all a very good day, night, morning, wherever you are. And we'll see you in the next episode of The Bigger Picture. Take care.